I think it's about time we discuss the self-entitlement of some electric car owners and how this may be holding back the mass adoption of electric vehicles. Now, there are many levels I think EV owners are self-entitled, and let's just go through a couple of the ones that I noticed on EV forums and when out and about. And some EV owners have all of these terrible traits, and some people just have one, and some people may not even be aware that they're doing it. And they are basically down to these three main things. One is charging, one is parking, and the other one is just status. And remember, I'm an EV owner myself, and if I'm noticing that happening and I think they're off-putting new EV owners, then how do you think ICE drivers feel? Firstly, let's talk about status. And there is certain owners of certain brands of EVs that feel they're more elite than other EV owners, and therefore they have the right to treat other EV owners slightly differently. And don't worry, we're also going to be defending these certain brand of owners in a second. But first of all, big characteristic that I noticed, Tesla destination chargers have two signs, a red sign and a white sign. And destination chargers are basically an AC plug that Teslas can use or any other Type 2 car can use and plug into. They tend to be three-phase, but they can be single-phase charger. They basically are embedded in the Tesla sat-nav, so Tesla owners can find them more easily, but other owners have found them through PlugShare or just because they're at a local hotel or golf club. And I've often found that Tesla owners sometimes think that it's their God-given right to have access to that charger over any other EV owner, even if that EV owner was already plugged in and charging there. They just seem to think that it's because it's a Tesla charger, it is their right to have it. Now let's dispel some myths. First of all, Tesla don't own these chargers. Tesla don't pay for the electricity for these chargers. Basically, all Tesla did was gift some chargers to some site owners, and most site owners then had to pay for their own install to have these put in. And the deal was Tesla would include them in the destination map, and at the time there wasn't many EVs, and basically the site owner covers all the electric costs. Now, if a site owner has deemed that both these chargers now can be used by both owners by flicking the dip switch inside the charger, and now both chargers are open to Teslas and non-Tesla, that is basically up to the site owner, because they're not receiving any money from Tesla. They could have been installed 5 years ago, and they want to increase footfall to their business, so they've opened them up to everyone. So please, if you're one of these owners that think you have a God-given right to argue that that other EV owner should not be charging on your charger, remember, it's not your charger, it's the site owner's charger. Briefly sticking with charging, I promised I'd defend the Tesla owners, and I'm going to do that right now. And one of the big defences here is someone goes to a motorway service station and plugged into one of the motorway service station, you know, AC, rapid chargers, CHAdeMO, CCS, whatever it is, they're plugged into a CCS charger and they're using a charger, and someone says they shouldn't be using that charger, they've got their own private network. Which is true, Tesla have a private network that no one else can use at the moment here in the UK and Europe, and all other owners have to use the open source networks, and a lot of people get really angry. There's a Tesla on the open source network paying for a charge from their own pocket, but they shouldn't be using that charger, they should be using their own private network charger, and that is just simply not true. They are paying for that charger, they're entitled to use it, and if they want to use it, they can. Now, most Tesla owners will choose to use the Tesla supercharging network for a couple of reasons. They tend to have free supercharging miles, or they tend to have at lower cost rates. So most Tesla superchargers tend to be billed at 22 pence per kilowatt, which is cheaper than all the other motorway service networks. So they do tend to do it, but they're not always on the trunk road you need or the motorway service station you need, and you might just want to stop for a coffee and a bite to eat and plug in and be happy to pay. And if they're doing that, it's their right to charge there, just like yours. Just because you can't use their charger doesn't mean that they can't use the open chargers that are open to everyone. And the next big issue of some EV owners is free charging. And there are several layers of this, of basically just entitlement to what people think they're entitled to. And one I'm going to start with here is some business owners decide that they are going to offer free charging to their business. You can put to their business and charge for free. That is their right to give to you. If they want to charge you for it, then that's up to them. But most businesses give it away for free because it attracts big people to come to their business and use their chargers. A lot of these companies have then introduced, free to only paying customers, which is again completely fine. They own the charger. If they want to make you come inside their coffee shop or business or pub and, spend some money to use that charger, that's up to them. But a lot of people whinge that, these free chargers are not free for them and that they have to go in and pay £5 to, eat something behind the bar before they can use the charger. At the end of the day, if that business is offering a service, a charger, what they're charging you for being a customer there is really not worth giving free charging. They're just doing it just to, basically attract their business, get people in, get people to see it. They're hoping you're going to spend more than that fiver. They're hoping that you'll come again because they've provided you with free charging and you'll carry on revisiting them and tell your friends how wonderful they are. They're not entitled to give it you. They don't have to give you free electric. And this gets even worse in a minute. But first of all, let's just talk about the abuse where this happens. Now, there's a charity that I read about on Facebook, on a Facebook group, and that charity has a certain brand of chargers from PodPoint. And PodPoint chargers, they're public chargers, really convenient. They let you plug in and start charging for free for the first 15 minutes, so you can get out of the rain if you're at a shopping centre, or get inside or get to where you're going, and then accept and activate the charger on your phone. In other words, accept the first 15 minutes that you've used of electricity and start paying for that first 15 minutes and any time afterwards. And what some people have been doing at certain charities, and I actually know two charities, I actually know a charity and a local authority that this has happened to. What people do is they plug in for that first 15 minutes and they stand with their car for 15 minutes, and as soon as it stops charging, they unplug it, and you've guessed it, plug it back in to get another 15 minutes. Now, what this is meaning is that the site owner is losing in 30 minutes of electricity. They're losing that revenue. They have to pay it. They have to pay for that electric. You don't, you get it for free because you're conning the system into cheating that you're another car. You are eventually taking money off charities or businesses or local authorities because you don't want to pay for a little bit of electricity that's being conveniently supplied to you by a charger. And what will eventually happen is two things. One, these 15-minute windows will go away and people will have to mess around with an app to make it work before they can accept the charge. Or the charity will just remove access to the chargers altogether. They just won't make them public access. We'll end up with less chargers. We'll end up with less free or affordable charges because people will have enough of being stolen from, ripped off, because you're basically thieving, because you know how the system works, you're thieving. And the selfish few will mean that for the many, there'll be less charges that are conveniently priced. So if you're one of these people that plugs into a PodPoint charger for 15 minutes, waits around and unplugs and replugs again, shame on you. And this is where my personal biggest gripe of self-EV entitlement comes, and that is the right to use a charger. And people think that they have a God-given right to use a charger that's at a business or a public place. And I've actually had this form of abuse directed at me. And one user basically said to me, your charger at work is not on PlugShare. No, it's not. They're right. It's not on PlugShare, and it's not on PlugShare for a couple of reasons. First of all, it is my workplace OLED charger. It's basically only there for the staff to use and nobody else. It's a work OLED place charge outside in my parking spot where I park for work, and therefore it's for me to charge on. It also means that we can't bill for it or we can't use it in other manners. It's basically our workplace charger. Okay, simple as. Next of all, there is several rapid chargers located all around where our business is. And I mean, quite a few rapid chargers. So you'd only come to my charger because I'd give it you for free, because we can't meter it, we can't charge for it, we can't say customers only because, no one's going to buy a car to use a charger. That's just a bit silly. So why would I put my charger on PlugShare? I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It's not your God-given right to use my business charger because you see it and you know it's a publicly accessible charger. Just because I've got it, there available to use doesn't mean that you can turn up and plug into it, because many people think this. And this is where, again, I've seen this again and over again, especially on EV forums, and that is people go to their main dealer and expect to plug in their electric car to charge, even though they've never bought a car off this electric car dealer. So basically people will turn up at a Renault or Nissan dealer that they haven't bought a car off, and they expect to use their charger on a regular basis or if they've driven past. Now, some EV owners, some EV garages will be quite happy for you to use their charger. Some garages I know have their chargers open and they'll let owners turn up and use them because they know that the goodwill there will mean that people might get the car service there, they might buy their next car there. And some businesses do that just for goodwill, but they don't have to. It's their choice. It's their business charger. Don't turn up at your local Renault dealer that you haven't bought a car off and expect to use their charger. It's their charger. Same with Nissan. It's their charger. They're franchise dealers. They're not owned by Renault. They're not owned by Nissan. They're franchise dealers. If they decide to let you use their charger, say thank you very much. Can I get my car serviced here? Give them business back. Don't expect that you can just turn up at a charger and use it. There is plenty of public chargers at the moment. There is very, 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 very few reasons why you need to turn up at your local dealer to use their charger. And I mean very few reasons. Basically, the only reasons I can think of is they're in the middle of nowhere and there is absolutely no chargers, which can occasionally happen, or two, you're getting your car serviced there, in which case they're going to probably plug it in anyway. I mean, most EV owners, drivers, garages that I know will plug a car in that they have in for service, or they've parked at their business and they'll let people use the chargers. What we do is what we all do as a community, but don't expect it, because eventually people are going to lock them up completely or put them behind extremely expensive paywalls, and then everyone will moan that it costs too much to charge on these units. Don't feel entitled to use a business's charger because you've seen it and you know you can access it. Now, there's another issue with charging, and that is to do with the difference of chargers. So we've got, obviously, we'll just simple it down. We've got rapid chargers, really powerful units, and then we have what we call destination chargers. Now, a destination charger, I'm counting anything 22 kilowatts or below. Some people will argue 22 kilowatts is fast, but it's not. It's just AC power. So anything AC power 22 kilowatts or below, I count as a slow charger, and anything faster, your 50 kilowatt, 43 kilowatt chargers, I'm counted as rapid chargers. And the issue here is there is two types of people. There's the people that turn up at a rapid charger and they plug in because they need a charge, because they're low on charge and they want to get to where they're going, and they go in the motorway service station or wherever it is and do what they do while their car charges for 30-40 minutes, and they come back out and drive on. And that's completely fine. There's also people that turn up to chargers because they're almost at the destination, but they maybe want to get enough charge to get back home, and they might turn up with a high state of charge, maybe 80%, and stay for 10-20 minutes. But a lot of owners will then see that car at 80% and see it's only been charging for 5 minutes and moan about it because they've been only charging for a short period of time and they're already at a high state of charge, and how dare they use that rapid charger? How dare they abuse it? It doesn't matter how many kilowatts and what speed they're pulling at. They might be pulling at the full speed of that charger, but people will moan. And I've also seen it happen with other cars which have got massive batteries and maybe need more than 30-40 minutes on that charger to get to a charge percentage that they need to carry on. So they may need an hour on a 50 kilowatt charger because their battery is 100 kilowatt hours. They might even need slightly more than an hour. However long they need is how long they need to carry on their journey, and they're quite happy to sit and wait at a motorway service station while that happens, and that is their entitlement to do so. They are a paying customer. Now, most EV owners, if asked to move because you've got 0% battery and you can't get anywhere and they might have enough to get to another charger, most EV owners will be quite happy to move. But that's up to them, not up to you. And that's the problem with infrastructure. It needs more infrastructure, and that's what GridServe are doing at the moment. They're installing double chargers. So this issue happens less, but I still see people tweeting pictures, taking pictures of a car on charge with lots of other free rapid chargers and complaining that this car's pulled up with 80% battery or this car's been on charge for an hour. It's up to them. If there's a free charger, why moan about it? Now, we also have what we call destination chargers, and this again brings a whole nother worm of entitlement owners out, and that is, to me, a destination charger is a charger, like I said, 22 kilowatts or below, and it's at a destination, somewhere that you are going to spend a decent amount of dwell time. And I've seen destination chargers as low as 3 kilowatts, high as 22, but they're usually about 7 kilowatts, same as what you get at home. And a destination charger to me is at a shopping centre, a cinema, a place that you're going to spend a number of hours. And to me, a destination charger is a place that I will park and not move my car, even when it's 100%, because I've parked there because I've reached my destination and I don't need my car till I've finished. So I might get there, plug my car in, it might get to 100%, and I might still be shopping. I might still be in the cinema. I might be watching a film. The last thing I want to see is a picture on Facebook of my car and an owner complaining, this car's 100% full. He won't move. He's not answering on plug share to move his car. He's probably not answering because he's shopping with his wife, with his kids, or maybe in a cinema and doesn't want to look at his phone because he's enjoying the film. He's at a destination charger. He doesn't have to move. The clue is in the name. Destination charger. If they've decided to park there and they've got there before you, they've got there before you, they're using the charger, don't moan. It's their right to stay there as long as they want. It's a destination charger. Different kettle of fish if it's a rapid and they're 100% full. Completely agree. Those people, there's a special place in hell for them. But normal destination chargers, don't moan at people if they're still using them after 100% and if they've been there 3, 4, 5 or even 6 hours. Now there's one last problem with destination chargers, and that is many councils now are installing multiple EV chargers across all their parking spaces, as many as possible, because that's the future. And many other car park owners are doing the same, and it makes perfect sense for them to do this. What they've also noticed is they might fit 10 chargers to 20 spaces in a car park, for example. So 50% of the spaces have got EV chargers, but they're not all labelled for EV parking. Some of them will be and some of them won't be, and some of them may be labelled for EV charging, so people driving an EV can see that there's a green space there and they can park in it for charging. But they might have a sign that says during peak hours, may be that 9 till 10 and 5 to 6, any car can park in these spaces. And the reason for that is, if you have a car parked with 20 cars and all the cars pull up at ice, and then you've got 10 empty spaces and the next 5 cars pull in at ice, why should they not park in them when the spaces are empty? Why should EV owners get priority parking over anyone else? Now, you could argue there's some green reasons for that, reducing the emissions for the earth, climate emergency. You could argue that, but at the end of the day, an EV owner is not entitled to have that space over someone else if there is several empty spaces and the car park has been designed to have as many EV chargers in as they possibly could, so when those EVs start to ramp up and there is more EVs, they can all park in them. And a lot of these councils have adopted just peak hours where ICE cars can park in them. But there is going to be a point where we're going to see more and more EV chargers in spaces, and those spaces will just be multi-use. And that is what we want. We want more chargers, and if they're multi-use, it means that there's enough chargers in that car park that they can be multi-use. But don't whinge about it, because at the end of the day, if the council get enough moaning or a car park owner gets enough moaning, they'll just remove the EV charger altogether. Now, these are just a couple of the gripes that really annoy me about EV owners, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's noticed these. Have you noticed some things that I haven't noticed that really bug you about EV owners? And if you're a petrol owner, and you notice any of these things bug you and it's putting you off EV adoption, then let me know down below in the description. I'm interested to learn what we could do as EV owners to encourage more of you to buy an electric car. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, go and click subscribe. Thank you very much for watching this week's video, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.